Hey guys, I am DM Zone. This is Gamers Oasis. Let's get into it. So today we're going to talk about original Dungeon and Dragon modules. There's a great list. There is exactly, well, really maybe one. They didn't make modules for original Dungeons and Dragons. Now this isn't the end of the video. There's more to it, but let's get into that a little bit. So in supplement two, Dave Arneson's supplement, the one where he was going to bring his side of what he does to the world, so Blackmore, there was the Temple of the Frogs in supplement two. Now, this few pages that they put in there, if you ever read any of the Dying Earth by Jack Vance, there's an adventurer named Kujul. I ever pronounce that exactly. Kujul probably is probably the best way to pronounce it. And he had a whole series of books that were part of the Dying Earth thing. Like a lot of the stories were talked about were about him. And in that world, he ran into things that were sci-fi like and were that, but he was a very um, simple fantasy driven person. Not going to get into too much into that at this moment, at least, because I plan to talk about the Dying Earth series more when I've completed all 5 books. I'm on book 2 currently, so I am going to get to it, and then we'll go ahead and talk about those books a little bit in the series when I get done with it. But it's kind of like what I think he was hoping from us. You play a simple fantasy. You don't really have a lot of access to technology and stuff. Um, your thing is that your clever wit, Kujul the Clever, was what he was wanting to be known as. No one ever called him that, but he was clever enough many times, but he often got the bad end of the deal. He also kind of reminds me of like a William Shatner, like the captain of a show I won't talk about right now. But he kind of reminds me of that in his escalades and the women and the differences, and he doesn't necessarily care what they look like or whatever, and kind of the smooth talking type of person. So back to the modules. They in the second book, supplement book, uh, which also came out in 1975. There was Temple of the Frog. This is a module I would actually like to get a group of guys to play and then maybe review it more in more detail. If that's something you want me to do, let me know in the comments if the actual play or if you'd want to see just like a diary of it and break it up into like a few part series or just an overall review. How would you guys, and I'm assuming if you're watching this far into a video about original Dungeons and Dragons and there's no modules, that you're probably some of the more core audience that watches it. So thank you, and I appreciate it. And your opinion matters. So I'm wanting to know kind of what you're wanting to know about this thing or what you think would be fun. Also, if you want to be a part of it, that's a potential too, I guess. I don't know how many people are going to watch this video. But if we got 3 to 5 people, I think that'd be a good number. And we can go from there. I do have a group that I would normally draw from, but we'll just have to go and see what happens, I guess. It is an old module. Um, but yeah. Okay, so you have sci fi elements. You have ray guns and lasers and wands that only have so many charges and healing that's limited and suits of armor that are increase your strength and are they seal you in magical energies and whatnot. Uh, they communicate with the gods in the sky. Things like this. The reality of it, I think I'm going to say for what that module is whenever I do my review of it, and we'll go from there. But that was kind of like the story that I think he was trying to retell. Um, if you look on the list for uh, old school modules or for the Temple of the Frog, you're not going to find this one. You do find a Temple of the Frog done by Dave Arneson, but it's done in like 1986, and it's part of it's designed for the Big Me series. And I guess that's when they came back and tried to do some work, and they knocked out like 4 modules, part of the DA series that Dave Arneson was able to work with, and then gone. If you do the Blackmore stuff, like the first campaign, you'll find more about the Temple of the Frog. If you watch the Blackmore video that they have out there, the documentary, they talk about the Temple of the Frog. It was a big deal with that group, but it never really quite made it into this game. I feel like it's also important to know that no modules were making it into this game. Like literally, this version of the game did not do a lot with modules. Between I'm going to say 75, because the game came out in 74 and they were still doing the initial releases and hadn't dreamt up the idea of a module until at least Supplement 2 came out. But between 1975 and 1979, there was a total of 10 modules that came out. All 10 were designed for AD&D First Edition, though. There was no modules designed for... Well, there's no design... Let me change that. There is no modules designed for original Dungeons & Dragons. There were 2 that might be, because of the context they were, and that is B1 and B2, In Search of the Unknown and Keep on the Borderland. Both I have these modules too, but both of those were technically wrote for the revised version of Old Dungeons & Dragons, the Holmes edition as it's called, or for the BX version, which came out in 1981, but was probably being figured out when this came out. But they were out at that time, so I'll include them here. The other 8, those were like literally AD&D First Edition modules. You know, you're talking about Against the Giants and this type of stuff. Really good modules, but not designed for this. So why? Well, I think when this game first came out, there was a lot of things they had to decide. This game is going to be this game is going to be that, this game is going to be over here, it's going to be doing this thing, we're going to use these type of rules, we're going to have this type of function. So a lot of decisions are being made. And when people are trying to push you off your decision, you've thought about it for hundreds of hours, they've thought about it for as long as they wrote that thing, and they may not have wrote it in a way that you're willing to receive it, I think. And there was a lot of hesitancy. Like, why would a player, or why would first of all, why would a player want or need a module? That just sounds terrible. So we're only talking to the referees. Why would the referee want us to make something for them? They need to go read and do this thing like we did, and then they can come up with their own fantasy world. We'll recommend books for them to go read, you know. But no one needs to be told how to do a Conan the Barbarian tale. No one needs to be told, you know, about Lovecraft worlds. They see it. They can do it, you know. Go make your dark horror. Go make your sword and sorcery. Why do you need us to tell you, you know? And that was kind of their initial thoughts. Later, it became the way they made the most amount of money. Because there are players out there who collect these things just so they can have an edge, or because they want to say, this is the module I was in, or whatever they might have done. And there was lots of referees like myself who have a lot of modules. Like, I have all of the BX series. I've not run all of the BX series. Well, not BX. A lot of the B series and the X series. And I have all the books for BX. And I have a heap of books, all the core books for the Big Me series. And I have a lot of the Gazetteer. On PDF, I have all of the Gazetteers. But that's a whole different thing. Uh, how does that work? Old school, original Dungeons & Dragon modules, they didn't make them. Their mindset was there's no way in the world the players and the referees are going to want this. It was a big oops. The DMs Guild came in, made a few things, and they're like, wait a second. And then they turned towards it. By the time they turned towards it, they'd already moved away from original Dungeons & Dragons. They were on into the Revised. They were on to the BX series, which the Revised was a very short-lived thing, even though it was incredibly important. Without that, I don't know if BX would have been as clean as it was. It really did set up a lot of the game. Also, it helped a lot, I think, in AD&D too, because it helped them sort of define what was important. I'm probably going to be talking more about the Homes Edition later. Probably not going to spend as much time on it as I did this, but I will be spending some more on it, mostly because there's not a lot in the Homes Edition to talk about. But the journey they went through with this defined TSR later. And the definition TSR later made was what made the company valuable to Wizards of the Coast and took it the direction they went. And we'll talk about the effects of the OGL and 3rd edition and what finally brought AD&D and BICME down, I guess, because those two systems were still going at the same time when they came out with 3rd edition. And they were still making products, actually, for them. So, very interesting. Alright, guys. Well, this is enough for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep rolling those dice and have a great day.